Hi, we're doing the How to Get More Out of Your Long Stretch series. On the Reformer, there is a series called the Long Stretch series, and it starts with the long stretch, and then there's the down stretch. There's the up stretch, elephant, single leg elephant, and the long back stretch. And most people hate the long back stretch, really dislike the elephant a lot, which I think there's so much goodness to get in it when you figure it out. And also would probably enjoy a lot more out of all of the whole series if you were connected to your back and your thighs. So I want to show you some tips about how to get more connected. So this is not going to be a how-to of the long stretch series. We actually have that video for you. We have each one individually done, and we also have a whole long stretch series. So I hope you check those out. If you want to dive in deeper into each one individually. But all of them have the same things in common, and we can go over those common things. The first one being the wrists. How do you get out of your wrists? Well, here's the thing about the wrists. Y'all, there's no muscles in your wrists. So if you're in your wrists, it's pretty miserable, and it means you're not connected to your back. So here's what I do. You're on 2 springs, and in the setup, I place my hands on the foot bar with my wrist straight. So I don't put my hand back here. I put it way in the front. It's gonna feel like I'm gonna fall off, right? So if you have a really thick foot bar, really thick pad, grab stickies, a TheraBand, and then stick it on there so that you can put your hand on the front and like kind of walk on the wild side. Then when you get into position, don't move those wrists. Keep them on the front of your foot bar and stand on your feet and your hands. Right here, you can just hold this exercise and you can actually figure out, are you really connected to your back? Or look at your elbows. Are they locked out? If your elbows are locked, you turn off the muscles above and below the joint. So whether you're doing long stretch, down stretch, or up stretch, if you block those elbows out, you're going to be pushing off of your wrists and your elbows. It's not going to feel really good. Okay, so always, always, always have the wrist straight on the front, especially when you get to this down stretch. If you move your hands back here and you're pushing, it becomes this pec elbow exercise. It's easier to hang in your lower back. It's not so fun. So you really want to have those hands on the front, and you want to feel like you're pulling the bar up and forward. So I can't actually do that because I'll fall, right? But you want to have this energy that your arms are going up and forward like this while your legs go back, and that keeps you in that arm back connection for that exercise. So the wrist being straight, tip number 1 to getting more out of your long stretch series. I promise you'll love it. Second is the actual feet placement and how you use them. It changes with each exercise. So when you're on for your long stretch, the heels have to be over the balls of your feet. If to go back, you drop your heels, you've cheated a little bit or a lot of it. So keep the heels over the balls of your feet wherever you are, and that's going to help you stand in those feet and get more out of your center. For the down stretch, to get a ton out of it, the feet really matter. If you got to reach back here and get those pinky toes untucked, do it. Stand in the ball of your foot down. That's why I like this Contrology Reformer, because it has a little space here for the ball of my foot to be welcomed, and then the heel can go back. And you want your inner heel to push into the shoulder block as much as your ball of your foot. So a lot of people end up pressing with the ball of the foot. That's going to go into your lower back. Push with the heel, and you're going to get way more out of your hamstrings. If you get that inner heel, a lot more of that inner thigh. Super awesome, right? Up stretch. Now you've moved your feet to here. This placement is really important. You can look at your feet. They tend to roll either inward or outward. So if you need to, we have a tutorial about putting a ball between your legs to keep the weight even on the balls of your feet and your heels. And this one is just as important. There's a tip I'm going to get into with the elephant that matters here. When you press into the carriage, you never want to pull yourself off your arms. So I'm not pressing my legs back and taking my chest back with it. I'm actually keeping my chest in the same spot as I push my legs back. And then my chest moves as I close the spring. And that will be really important in your elephant here, where the feet, again, that whole foot, you reach the heel down, the inner heel down. Try not to just lift the toes up. Lift the whole ball of the foot up. And as you push your legs out and in, those arms are reaching from your back like we've already discussed.
but you're not pulling yourself off your arms as you reach with your legs.
Finally, you bring all of those tips together, the ones that stay connected to your back, right? So you're lifted out of your joints and reaching to the whole foot in your long back stretch. So long back stretch is the one people, like I said in the beginning, don't like very much because it's really hard. It gets a little wristy. It's really easy to hang out. And if you haven't learned how to stand in your feet and your arms, it's pretty miserable. So rhythm saves with this exercise big time. And then what you want to make sure is that as you get into position, again, those hands, notice how my wrist is not back here, it's way in the front. And then I stand down into my heels like I did with my elephant and through the ball of my foot. Same thing you've already learned. So that way, as you roll through this exercise, you feel this in your back, in your hamstrings, in your glutes, in your center, and not your elbows and wrists or shoulders, right? So if that was a lot for you, the best way to practice it is start with your elephant. It's the hardest one. I know it looks like the easiest one. It's the hardest one. If you can stand in your feet and reach your arms in that exercise, long stretch is going to be your next easiest one. Then down stretch, up stretch, and then your long back stretch. So that's my order for you. If you would like to have more cues and accountability around this series, then I want you to join me on onlinepilatesclasses.com. We have weekly reformer classes, and I never skip the long stretch series because it's so integral into helping us stand up and walk out of the room and enjoy our day. So thank you for joining me for these live videos. Make sure you're putting comments below and letting us know what questions you have. They help us pick the next week's live video. So thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.